FM News Talk 97.1. On-demand audio.
But one of the things that I think is incredibly important, and it's coming up in a couple of weeks, is the race for the RNC chairmanship. And as we saw how important this position was, I think a lot of conservatives in the past have ignored this, and we saw how important this position was with Michael Steele. And I had a huge problem with a guy who was supposed to be helping to develop strategy on the Republican side, and was supposed to be helping to develop platform at a very tenuous time when there was this back and forth between grassroots and establishment, and he was out selling his book, and they were broke and all of this other stuff. So there's definitely the time for fresh blood, and 4 major contenders have emerged, and it's very nice that one of those is a Missourian. She's from Baldwin, and it's Ann Wagner, who has a very long and successful history of activism and helping to develop Missouri's Republican Party platform and strategy, and she joins us on the phone right now. Good afternoon, Ann.
Hi, Dana. It's good to be with you and your listeners.
Well, it's great to have you. You announced just a few days ago that you are running for RNC chair. I've spoken to some people in Jeff City. It was sort of unexpected. They just thought you would go perhaps to the corporate world, and that but you decided no, you're going to go for RNC chair. I think this is going to be a very interesting race. What made you decide to do this?
I'll tell you what. It's about the future. It's about winning this election in 2012 and making sure that this Obama regime is stopped. We've got to finish the job. 2010 was a great start, but we have got to win the presidency back in 2012, and I feel like it's too important to our nation, to my children, and to the future. So I am jumping in full tilt. I have been exploring this for the last 2 to 3 weeks, and did announce my candidacy on Monday, and it's going well. I'm getting a lot of terrific encouragement. Just got back from Washington, D.C. We had a great forum with Freedom Works, and we're able to reach out to a lot of the Tea Party and Patriot groups out there, and along with some interviews with the Conservative Caucus of the Republican National Committee, and I was able to go and was invited by Grover Norquist to come and present to his group, the ATR, on Wednesday morning. So it was a great trip, and we are full steam ahead to see if we can get this done.
Well, excellent. When you look at the way that the RNC has been operating lately, what are some of the things that you think, if you were elected to the chairmanship, that you would want to change immediately or make better to be more effective?
Well, everyone has lost confidence in the Republican National Committee, and for good reason. We have someone at the helm right now who is in it for self purposes, I think, and whether it's, as you mentioned, the book, or receiving fees for his speeches, whether he's spending money frivolously and not raising the money that needs to be done. There are a lot of things that need to be done going forward, and I'm going to do that. The first is fundraising. We've got a huge debt that reportedly the RNC is going to incur after this election, and there are no real major donor programs anymore. Those donors are there. They want to support the conservative cause. We've got to go back and reunite them with the Republican National Committee. There's just too many things that have to be done at the state level. The RNC's job is to support the state victory programs out there, and there are some terrific programs that are in existence and some new ones that are coming down the pike, but nothing can be done in terms of get out the vote and grassroots and the state victory programs if they're not funded. So I am going to do whatever I can to raise the literally hundreds of millions of dollars that need to be raised to put the RNC back in good footing. And management,
Right.
There's got to be some transparency and accountability, Dana. This committee has been able to just kind of run amok, and an organization, as you well know, is only as good as the leader at the helm, and we need to have someone in there that knows how to communicate properly with the members, the states, with our donors out there, with Congress, with everyone. So whether it's management, fundraising, political savvy, which I've won a lot of great elections across the country and certainly here in Missouri over my time, those are all important skills that I hope to bring to the table.
Right. And I think that a huge part of restoring that confidence in the RNC is going to definitely come with having a good, competent chair to sort of to be at the helm of that. One of the questions that's been coming up a lot is November 2nd was a very different sort of election. The past couple of years have been incredibly different with the rise of the conservative grassroots people, mainstream America. It's not a fringe group anymore. And we've seen this self-built coalition coming from the right. And one of the most important responsibilities that you would have, as I'm sure you well know, would be engaging the grassroots to help with that coalition. How would you engage but not co-opt grassroots with the RNC?
We had a fantastic discussion about this, Dana, at the 2-hour Freedom Works forum the other day. And you're right. It's not trying to co-op. It's a function of engaging. It's a function of listening. It's a function, I think, of realizing the true independent nature of these Tea Party and Patriot Party groups that are out there, the true authenticity of the grassroots nature of this movement, and it's everywhere, and it differs too. It's different from state to state, but we must engage them. We must listen. We must talk about the ideas going forward. We have to do what we can to include them within also some of the existing grassroots organizations that are more traditional to the Republican National Committee and the party going forward. This is we are a center-right country, and the people have stood up and said enough. They are involved, they are engaged, they are informed like never before, and we have to harness that. But most importantly, we have to make sure that we stick to our conservative principles going forward.
And one of the things that you've done and that you have a good history with is you developed the Winning Women's Initiative, and that's essentially just to go out and improve the image of the GOP and help facilitate a relationship between bringing more women to the Republican Party. And that's something that everyone agrees is hugely important. How would you go? How do you continue wanting to do this Winning Women's Initiative on a national level, and how would you include the minority community in that as well?
Absolutely. Women make up about 52 to 53% of the electorate, and frankly, what's one of the really exciting things I think about my candidacy is there was only one other woman who was chairman of the Republican National Committee. It was back in 1974. I am sorry to say she was a liberal, appointed by Ford, and so I would like to be. I'd like to definitely right that wrong, and would be really proud to be one of the first women in over a generation to ever be elected to chair the Republican National Committee. So, while I'm not into quotas, I think you got to get the best person out there. That should be based on your experience, on your results, and on merit. Reaching out to women is important, and one of the things that we did right in 2010 election was winning back the suburbs. If you look even at Roy Blunt's U.S. Senate race, he won 67% of the suburbs, and the suburban vote is key, and women are very much a part of that. And it started with Massachusetts and New Jersey, with New Jersey and Virginia, and then made its way through Massachusetts, and now in this last cycle. So we have to continue that dialogue with women and with everyone across our nation to make sure that we, as I said, finish the job in 2012 and put a good conservative Republican in office at the highest level.
Right. One of the things that I love that you just said was that you're not into quotas, and it sounds as though you realize that the heavy lifting with this comes in the messaging and making the messaging more attractive, which I think some of the RNC chairs in the past have failed to do. And that's what the marketing and the messaging and making people realize that, look, this is where freedom and opportunity lie, with more individual liberty. Is that a correct assessment?
Absolutely, it is. That is, I embrace that, and I live it, and I have for the 20 plus years of conservative activism that I've been involved in, which has been mainly surrounding the Republican Party. And women are just inherently, I think, good communicators. They're open to others, and that's the kind of chairman that I want to be. That's the kind of chairman I certainly was when I was at the helm of the Missouri Republican Party, the first and only woman to do so. To the extent that I can help be a trailblazer in that, I'm pleased to do it. It's important. It's important to our republic. It's important to the future of our nation. So I'm going to see what happens here. The vote is in mid-January. The meeting is from January 12th to the 14th. There were only 4 people that were willing to stand up day before yesterday with FreedomWorks and do the kind of outreach to these new Tea Party and Patriot Party groups out there. I was one of them. The other 3, there's only one other announced candidate at the moment, but there are a whole lot of folks taking a look at it. But the fact of the matter is we need a change.
Right.
And, I want to be a part of that change and a part of a successful winning coalition in 2012.
Well, and I have to say too, Ann, that I Ann Wagner, contender rather for chair of the RNC. I have to say too that some of the things that I see, and this is the last question I have for you, I am seeing in this race, as we saw with the earmark moratoriums and some of the other battles brewing within the GOP. I'm seeing within this race that this looks as though we're going to have another little mini battle of grassroots versus the establishment, because I've seen a couple establishment candidates already stand up for this chairmanship, and I'm being incredibly forward here, but I think it's just completely tone deaf to have anybody who is a Bush lackey or anybody who is a pharmaceutical lobbyist or anything of that nature to get out there and think that they can represent the new Republican Party that is really engaging grassroots. And I may be a little harsh, but it just has to be said. And I appreciate the relationship. You've really done a lot to reach out to grassroots. And I think that you strike a really good tone, because you know that it's not about incorporating them, but allowing them to sort of be the check and balance, which is appreciated.
Absolutely it is. And while any kind of a race is a democracy, anyone can jump in. It's a process. But I think that the more light and sunshine that one can place on any kind of a race or process like this is important. So I think that some of the characteristics and supporters and backgrounds and affiliations of all those that are interested in running for this position will be seen and hopefully will be evaluated. It's a strange thing, you know. It's decided by 168 members of the Republican National Committee, 3 from each state, and including the 5 territories. So. But they're all supposed to be representing their parties and the activists, the conservative activists in their states. So hopefully, I am hoping that real grassroots activists will stand up, both that are a part of the Republican establishment and outside of it, just good conservatives that care about their country and say, you know what, we want a leader like Ann Wagner. So I hope I'm successful. I'm going to do like I always do and give it my all. I appreciate the time with you today, just as I did with FreedomWorks the other day, and let's continue the dialogue.
Absolutely. Well, we'll definitely be watching. Ann Wagner, former ambassador to Luxembourg, also former chair to the Missouri Republican Party. You've got quite a resume and quite a history of getting out there and being active. Ann, I appreciate you joining me this afternoon.
Thanks, Dana.
Take care.
Bye now.